ممكن بعدين. بعدين. ها؟ طيب. طيب، بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه. جزاك الله خير. Shall we talk about the test first, or we have a big distraction here? So the test. Alhamdulillah, I mean, nobody had like a real issues with reciting the surah or the half of the surah. So most of the, if not all, the people who did the test would be active participants in level 4. So we still have the rules in place. So we are starting today, inshallah. After this, we'll start the first lesson of level 4. And regarding the questions that I sent, now there were 3 questions. Some of you, I understand, did not understand the questions, especially the second one and the third one. But I did get some correct answers from others. That means some of you did understand what I meant by the questions. The most important thing is what I meant by the question. The first question is related to the letters of idgham. So most of you answered the question correctly, except one person who missed one letter. But some of you gave me more details than I asked for. Right? If I ask you what are the letters of idgham, what is the answer supposed to be? Yarmalun. Some of you, like one of the brother, he put the word yarmalun. Not you. You gave me a little more than, maybe not as much as some of you, but one brother wrote the word yarmalun, and that's enough. To write the word yarmalun, that's more than enough. I don't need the rest of the details that are divided in 2 groups. One of them is with ghunna, the other is without ghunna. We don't need all of that. So straight to the point, because I didn't specify the group of ghunna or the group of without ghunna. When I ask you the idgham in general, of course I'm referring to the nun sakin and tanween. You should just say yarmalun, or you say ya, ra, and so on. The letters, the 6 letters. So that was the easy answer, which almost all of you got it right. The second question was what is similar between the rules of nun sakina and tanween and the rules of a mim sakina. Of course, some of you went into the details where, and I understand we spoke briefly about it, is that the names of the rules are similar. We have idgham here and we have idgham there, right? The name of the rule. And we have ikhfa here, we have ikhfa there. We have idhar here, we have idhar there, right? This is a similarity in terms of the name of the rule, right? We could also mention the ghunna. We have ghunna here, we have ghunna there, right? But what I wanted really is what we spoke about during the lesson. And we spoke about it more than once when we were comparing. We were talking about the iqlab of the noon. You didn't say that.
Yeah, because I thought you were talking about the yarmalun.
Yeah, what you said is similar to what some of the other answers. They said something similar to what you said. But what I was referring to is the iqlab of the noon sakina and the ikhfa of the meme, right? Not only that they are similar, but it's basically part of it. The ikhfa of the meme, sakina, is part of the iqlab of the noon sakina. Because the iqlab of the noon sakina, we said the noon is turned into a meme. So once it's turned into a meme, then we have ikhfa of the meme, right? So that rule, the ikhfa of the meme, is included in that. It's part of it. Can you see it? It's not clear? It's not?
No, it is.
Do you remember this, Brother Wahya? You remember it? All right. So this was what I was looking for in the answer. How many people got this right? The best answer, I selected the best answer as the answer of Brother Hanif. That was the best and the closest to what I wanted in the question number 2. Many of you maybe did not understand the question. And some of you only mentioned the iqlab of the meme. They didn't give more details. Or one of you said the iqlab of the meme, which is actually the iqlab of the noon. But it was closer to the answer. The rest, the answer was either too short, like they didn't give enough details, or they did not understand the question. And the third question was in regards to the rules of the ra. I said in the question, the most common rules of the ra. With the S. Yeah, that S is important because some of the brothers, they thought I'm referring to what is more common, the tafkhim or the tarqiq, right? This is what some of you understood. But actually, when I was summarizing the rule, I spoke about it many times, is that what I meant by most common is that if you want to summarize this rule to somebody who doesn't know the rules of tajweed or he's new to these rules of ra, then you have to give him the most common rules. Don't give him the exceptions, right? We are comparing the most common versus the exceptions, right? And the fine details, the small details. So this is what I meant by the most common. And the best answer here was came from Brother Abu Yahya, who answered it the way I wanted it to be answered. Is that we should only say that the ra is strong or mufakhama when it has a fatha or dhamma, or if it has a sukoon before it fatha or dhamma. And it is soft when it has kasra, or if it has a sukoon and before it kasra. If you add when the ra has a sukoon and before it sukoon before it kasra, or when the ra has sukoon before it dhamma or fatha, then it is also acceptable. But this is the most common scenario, without talking about the exceptions, right? And this, as we said before, it covers most of the rules of the ra. All right. As for the points that were deducted from either the reading, the reciting of the surah, or half of the Surah Al-Qalam, or the questions, the person who came on top is Brother Hanif for the second time. So he got the first in level 3, in level 2. Brother Mustafa was first in level 1, if I remember correctly.
Then I started going down.
Well, this is taking into consideration 3 things. The attendance, there were 3 people who had who attended 9 sessions in level 3. Brother Hanif, Brother Abu Yahya, and I believe Yahya as well. And Brother Hanif didn't have any mistakes in the reading, and he didn't have any mistakes in the 3 questions that I sent. So it was an easy pick this time. This time it was an easy pick. Last time I think 2 people had the same score, or more than 1 person had the same score. And a small, as usual, a small symbolic gesture. I didn't receive any answers from Yahya, unless the answer that you wrote, it's on behalf of. I thought I was clear last time that you said he has access to your email. That means he's able to answer himself the questions. This is not a joint effort, by the way. So next time I prefer that he answers. Either he can tell you the answer, you can write them down, or pick up the phone, he can talk on the phone, leave a message, or write it on a piece of paper. He knows how to write, right? Let him do it himself.
I asked him the question, he answered.
So he answered it this exact same way as you answered it? Almost? But I want to hear it. Next time, inshallah, next time. There will be, I think there will be similar questions in level 4. Similar questions. So the questions, as you've seen, the first question, it expects the person to remember the letters, right? So you are expected to remember the letters. If you don't remember the letters, you won't be able to perform the idgham, right? So you are expected to memorize the letters. The second question is basically shows understanding of the rules, or comparison between the nun sakina and tanween and the mim sakina, right? And the last question is basically, at least you should be able to remember the general rule of ra. If you can't remember the general rule, then again you won't be able to apply it. So we don't expect you to remember the exceptions, but at least remember the big items. All right. So that's for the test. We can start, inshallah, right away the level 1, level 4, the first lesson of level 4, which was supposed to be Hamzat al-Wasl. Hamzat al-Wasl. We spoke about Hamzat al-Wasl in the past, right? Briefly. There was a homework assigned to Hamzat al-Wasl. Did anybody know what the homework was? Or had the chance to? You knew what? Did you read it a little bit? You read a little bit of Taha?
4.
All right.
Taha.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
All right.
Al-Ahqaf,
Al-Ahqaf and Taha. Yeah, Al-Ahqaf, ayah number 4, and Taha. Taha, of course, it's a long surah. I mean, if you read a little bit of it, or the beginning. So that was the homework. We'll get back to the homework in a little bit. So Hamzat al-Wasl, if you read about Hamzat al-Wasl, there's a lot of details. A lot of details, and you can even realize after reading about Hamzat al-Wasl that sometimes it may get confusing, and it may get like challenging to remember all the rules of Hamzat al-Wasl. So I'm gonna tell you a few things about Hamzat al-Wasl, and then we'll try to summarize it and mention what is important to remember of Hamzat al-Wasl, how to manage this Hamzat al-Wasl. So Hamzat al-Wasl can happen in the asma, which are the nouns, and in the af'al, which are the verbs. So it could either be a noun or a verb. If it happens in the nouns, there is two possibilities. Either the noun will have the definite article, the L, which is the THE, or it will be without the THE. When a word has a THE or the L at the beginning, then it's very simple for a person to know how to do with it. And I haven't met anyone who has a problem with this. Let's say if we take the word al-Nabiyyu. This is Hamzat al-Wasl, and this is Al. So if we say Nabiyun, that means a prophet, and when we say An-Nabiyyu, that means the prophet. So when we have a noun like this, with the alif lam, this Hamzat al-Wasl, because Hamzat al-Wasl, as we said, the definition of it is that it helps a person start the word. Otherwise the word would have started with a sukoon, and in Arabic we don't start with a sukoon. So you use it to be able to start the word. And of course, if you start from something that's before this word, let's say min al-nabi or bin nabi or whatever it is before it, then you don't need this Hamzat al-Wasl. So the Hamzat al-Wasl is dropped. It's not pronounced. It's dropped. You don't need it anymore. But because you have started from it, and because you can't start from a sukoon, then you are using this Hamzat al-Wasl to be able to start with. So this Hamzat al-Wasl could have a fatha, could have a dhamma, or could have a kasra. Right? So we have three possibilities. And this is what we are discussing today, is that how do we know what to put on this Hamzat al-Wasl? Are we going to put a fatha, a kasra, or a dhamma? In this case, whenever we have a noun with alif lam, we have to put a fatha. So we say a. We are not saying I or U. We are saying a. If I put a kasra here, I would say in nabi. If I put a dhamma, I would say ul nabi, un nabi. But instead I'm putting a fatha. So I'm saying an nabi, an nabi. So whenever we have a noun with alif lam, we put a fatha. And other than that, other than a noun with alif lam, any other noun without alif lam, it is usually a kasra. And there's only a few words in the Quran. I don't have them written here, but this is the simple definition. For the nouns, if we have alif lam, it's a fatha. Otherwise, it's going to be a kasra. All right?
Otherwise, for verbs, you mean?
No. I mean for nouns. For nouns, we either have it with alif lam or without. So if it is with alif lam, then it's fatha. If it is without, it's a kasra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mean Hamzat al-Wasl is going to come still, but without the lam? Is that what you mean?
Without the lam, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I believe the examples are ibnun and ibnatun, imra'atun.
Of the force, that.
We'll come back to it, inshallah.
But this is verbs.
Yeah, let's come back to it. One step at a time. Yes. Isra? I'm not sure about Isra. I'm not sure. But in the Quran, in any case, the Hamza, Hamzat al-Wasl is written differently than the Hamzat al-Qata'. Right? What is the challenge, before we talk about verbs, what is the challenge here when we talk about Hamzat al-Wasl in the nouns? What is the challenge?
Knowing that it's a noun.
Yes, Brother Musa.
Knowing that it's a noun.
Knowing that it's a noun. Yeah, it could be a challenge. Yeah. It could be a challenge. I think, as I mentioned earlier, when there is alif lam, usually people don't have a problem with it. I have never seen somebody having a problem with a word that has an alif lam at the beginning, and he would say un-nabi or in-nabi. I haven't seen it. So because I haven't seen it personally, I don't consider it as a challenge. So it's not usually we talk about common mistakes, right? We talk about common mistake. In this case, I haven't seen anyone making a mistake in these kind of situations where there is a word with alif lam and the person would make a mistake.
You still looking for the challenge?
No, I just said I don't think that it is a challenge. I think the challenge will come in the verbs more than it is in the nouns, right? So in the verbs, it's a little bit more complicated. So when we have a verb that has Hamzat al-Wasl at the beginning, the definition is kind of tricky because it talks about non-original and original haraka, right? So it will have a kasra, a verb will have a kasra. When I say a verb will have a kasra, that means I'm talking about Hamzat al-Wasl. A verb that has Hamzat al-Wasl, we will put a kasra if the third letter of the verb has a kasra, an original kasra they say, or a fatha, or a non-original dhamma. So an original kasra, a fatha, and a non-original dhamma, or a non-original dhamma. The third letter of the word. Let's write down an example. Okay, let's see which one is this most simple of examples.
Has an original kasra,
Original kasra.
or non-original dhamma, or fatha.
Let's leave the fatha in the middle. So original kasra, a fatha, or a non-original dhamma.
This is the third letter including the alif, or?
Without the alif. Let me find an example that's, because there are some exceptions here, or there are some examples that are complicated. Let's go with ضرب يضرب ضربا. This is a popular word that in school they always use this word اضرب. Did you notice this? ضرب التلميذ and so on. It's second. We have to practice it.
They also practice it.
They also practice it, yeah. the society is built on what they call anf, on hitting people.
So the second letter here will be?
The third letter, including the hamza. Yeah, sorry. So the third letter is kasra. Is this an original kasra? Yeah, it is an original kasra. We will take an example with the non-original kasra, and you will see the difference. You will see the difference in a minute. But this is usually an original kasra. It's a simple word. So here, when you start from this word, obviously, if a person tries to avoid this issue, he could start with the word before it, right? Or try to finish the ayah, whatever. There's always a workaround. Most of the time, there is a workaround. But if you run out of breath and you try to start from this word, then you have to know the rule. You have to know the rule. And this is what the rule, this is what knowing the rule helps with, is that you are able to start from wherever you want, right? You have the flexibility, you have the knowledge to do it. So you are starting from here, you look at this word, and if you say udrub, or adrib, or idrib, some of them may even sound like natural and nice, right? Because sometimes by saying it, it may sound weird. And if it sounds weird, then you avoid it. But some other times, it may sound like okay. So I look at the third letter, I find a kasra, then I put a kasra. And the way to remember it, the way I suggest for a person to remember this, is that whenever there is a kasra or a fatha, it is a kasra. That means if you have a straight line, then you use a straight line. If you have a dhamma, then you use a dhamma. This is how you remember it. And let's see if this theory will hold while we are talking about this. So this is a kasra, so we'll put a kasra. اضرب, right? So we said if it is an original kasra or a fatha or a non-original dhamma. We could simplify it by not talking about the dhamma. So we say kasra or a fatha. Then it is a kasra. اضرب. Let's see an example with the same thing, with the kasra, that starts with the kasra, but with a non-original dhamma. I think there are only 5 words in the Quran. I'll try to send you this document so that you have it as a reference. Say again? وَقْتُلُوهُمْ. No, it's not one of those words. Yes, ibnu is one of them. So we have iqdu, ibnu, imdu, imshu, and itu. So let's take ibnu. So this is Hamzat al-Wasl. I meant ibnu. I said ibnu and I wrote something else. I don't even know what I wrote.
So what is it? Aqdu, imdu, imshu, ibnu?
And itu. E2. All right. So here, this is the same example as this one. We're still in the case where Hamzat al-Wasl has a kasra. So we said it will have a kasra when the third letter in this case is a nun, when the third letter has a kasra, an original kasra, or a fatha, or a non-original dhamma. So this one must be a non-original dhamma. What is the origin of this word? Why is it that the dhamma is non-original? It is because it was supposed to be ibniyu. And the same thing for the other ones. Iqdiyu and imdiyu and imshiyu. This is originally this is how it was, and then it was simplified because it's easy to pronounce. Ibnu instead of saying ibniyu. And there are many examples like this. Now, what is the challenge in this one? The challenge in this one is that if you see the dhamma, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you would think that the Hamzat al-Wasl will have a dhamma, because we said the dhamma goes with a dhamma, right? And the kasra and the fatha will go with the kasra. So this is a general rule. So this was supposed to be a dhamma if this was an original dhamma. But because it's not an original dhamma, we have a kasra here on the Hamzat al-Wasl. So basically, it was supposed to be ibni. So we were supposed to have a kasra on it, on the noon. And if we have a kasra, it's going to be the same as this word. Originally, it was a kasra. So because we have a kasra on the third letter, we will have a kasra on Hamzat al-Wasl. So the challenge here, in an example like this, is that a person may not know if it's original or not. like if the letter or the haraka is original or not. But luckily, we only have 5 words in the whole Quran. 5 words like this. You just have to remember these 5 words, or remember where they are. And even if a person makes only 5 mistakes in the whole Quran, as we always say, it's only 5 mistakes. It's very rare that you'll find a person reading the whole Quran and only making 5 mistakes. He's like one of the top people, right? And they noted here that, for instance, what is interesting about this note here is that the word iqdu, the word imdu, have a waw before it. That means you will not even have an issue with it. So it's not even five words, it's 4 words really, right? Because when you have a waw, you're not going to start after the waw. Right? You're not going to stop at the waw and then start after the waw. Right? You can't do that. You can't start. I mean, even if you stop before, when you start again, you would say wamdu haythu tu'mar. Right? So you are not going to pronounce Hamza al-Wasl in any case.
If we have a shadda after Hamzatul Wasl.
Yeah, you never get that, right?
Is it possible to have a ittaqullah?
Is this Hamza al-Wasl?
Is it Hamza al-Wasl? Yeah. Is it? Where in the Quran? Let's say.
We don't say why it's Hamzatul Wasl.
I believe ittaqu is probably the same as this one.
So we consider the shadda as the letter with shadda as 1 letter or 2 letters?
I believe in this case it's 1 letter. I believe it's 1 letter.
Yeah, because it will be taqyu, right?
So it's like
Mhm.
all and yeah,
But the question is, why is it not mentioned with these 5 words? If it was exactly the same.
Because it always comes with either waw before it or that.
Hmm.
No, but there's one also.
Say again?
So is the other one.
Wamdu.
If you do count it as 2 letters, then the third letter is a fatha. Right? So sukoon followed by a fatha, and the fatha.
If you count it as 2 letters.
If you count it as 2 letters, maybe that's what it
the
is.
second letter is like with a spoon in Hebrew. We have a spoon in that. Then we have fatha in that. Because the original root letters are waw, vav, and ya. So we replace waw with ta.
For the word ittaqa, I mean.
Which the original is waw, vav, and ya.
Hmm. We can look into it, I guess. So you mean the shadda is counted as 2 letters?
Maybe it's a bit, I
Hmm.
if you consider it as 2 letters, then the second letter, the third letter would be.
Then it will fall into this kind of scenario, this kind of category. I think it's more likely that that's the case, because otherwise it would have been like this one, and because it hasn't been mentioned with the 5 words, so it's most likely not in the same category, basically. We'll come back to it, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. So, any questions?
But this means the rule is still holds here, right?
Mhm.
Hamza al-Wasl, this always comes with a sukoon after. Even it's shaddad, harf mushaddad, that's 2 letters, right? The first one is a shaddad, with a sukoon.
Yeah.
And the other one is with harf, right?
Well, yeah, because that's the reason we are using Hamza al-Wasl is because of the sukoon. Otherwise, we will not need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Question?
But I think you don't find it with shadda and sukoon, because the 5 exceptions.
he has the bad.
No, he meant there is always a sukoon after Hamzat al-Wasl.
Yes. That's what we needed. That's what we needed.
Oh, yeah.
Which is true. I mean, true. That's why we needed Hamzat al-Wasl, because of the sukoon. So to summarize this, and we still we have one more case actually, the case where Hamzat al-Wasl has a dhamma. So it's basically it's the other one is reversed. So it will have a dhamma. Hamzat al-Wasl will have a dhamma if the third letter has an original, or if we want to start with the kasra, if it has a non-original kasra, a fatha, a non-original kasra, or an original dhamma. So it's the kasra and dhamma are reversed from the first case.
Yeah. So with the fatha, it's always the same.
The fatha, yeah. Fatha is just one case, which is always fatha goes with the fatha. So if the third letter has a fatha, then the fatha goes with the kasra. If the third letter has a fatha, then the Hamzat al-Wasl has a kasra. So, as I said, to summarize this and to try to remember the main component of this Hamzat al-Wasl is that obviously we have two cases, either a noun or a verb. In the nouns we said, you just have to remember a word, like the word al-Nabi or al-Shams or al-Qamar and those kind of things. And you will realize that it will have a fatha. So, and people usually don't have a problem with that. People don't have a problem pronouncing a word that has alif lam. That's the only thing you should remember really on this one, right? And of course, if it is a noun without alif lam, it's the other way around. It's kasra instead of fatha. So if you remember this, then the other one is the opposite. It's a kasra instead of fatha. And for the verbs, you will have to look at the third letter. And you have to remember this. This will basically cover most of the rules, except, as we said, 5 words. So if the third letter has a dhamma, then the Hamzat al-Wasl will have a dhamma. If the third letter has a fatha or a kasra, Hamzat al-Wasl will have a kasra.
And this will be one of the questions of your report.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, I mean, I will not ask you about the details, right? I don't expect anyone to remember the details. If you remember them, that's good for you. It's good. But I don't expect most people to remember the details. You can go and read more if you want to know more. But if you want to stick to the basic components, just to help you know how to read them, then that is what is required. And if you are teaching someone, especially if this person is new to Tajweed, then you have to simplify it as much as possible. You may not even talk about these kind of things, when the dhamma is not original and when the kasra is not original. This is like a little bit crazy, right? You may not even talk about this, yeah. And I remembered something about attendance. If you ever attended a course of Tajweed before, anywhere else, one thing to remember is that to keep the same number of people over a long period of time, this is the biggest challenge that I have seen in my life. Right? And this is a challenge everywhere, in every country, in every masjid, in every community. So if you remember, I told you the record that we had was 19 people. You can realize now how big is that challenge to keep like a minimum of 19, the same 19 people over a long period of time, like 8 months or more. That's a big challenge. It's not about a number during the class, because the number could reach like 30. Like Sometimes you get like 50 people in the same halaq of tajweed. But are they going to continue? Are the same people are going to continue? Of course, the rules that we set up helped quite a bit in keeping the numbers, keeping the same people, continuing with the tajweed. It's only the rules that helped. There was nothing else that we tried in the past. And there's no halaqah that I know of, that I attended, I've seen, that was successful without the rules. So if you are trying to set up in the future your own the tajweed halaqah, you will face this challenge. And I'm telling you, it's the rules that, sticking to the rules, the attendance, will help keep the halaqah going. And of course, simplifying the, especially in the West, where this is not like a university level course of tajweed where you're talking about 10 qira'at and stuff. It's like a simple course. So when we are teaching people for the first time, I mean, people who never took tajweed, or people who are new to this, or people who want to improve a little bit, you have to simplify it to them. Otherwise, you will lose them right away. All right, so let's read a little bit from Surah Al-Ahqaf.
Can you give an example of
Yes.
non-original kasra?
Say again?
An example of non-original kasra?
A non-original kasra. Let me see. I don't have an example here. A non-original kasra. Okay, let me find you an example here. The kasra, I forgot to mention this, when the third letter has a kasra, a non-original kasra, this is not in this qira'ah. This is not in this qira'ah. As for the dhamma, an original dhamma, let me try to find something here. It's not in Hafs, but I don't have the details here, which qira'ah. But usually there is differences in همزة الوصل, and also when there is التقاء الساكنين. Like last time you were reading from Surah Al-Qalam, and you were mentioning that there is two differences. Not وهو, the other one? أنغدو. Yeah, so همزة الوصل, or the first sukun, is changed to a dhamma instead of a kasra. In Hafs, we changed it أنغدو, we changed it to a kasra. And this التقاء الساكنة that we're going to talk about, I think, supposed to be next week or the week after, is a little bit similar to this rule that we have here. Is a little bit similar to this definition or this theory. It's a little bit similar to that. And you will find that in Hafs, the theme is that it's usually changed into a kasra. When there's two sukuns, the first one is changed to a kasra. This is a theme in general. And in Qalun and probably others, they would change it to a dhamma. And it also, when you try to compare it, it also makes sense. Right? It's also easy to read, right? So I'm looking for an example with the dhamma.
Can you say that?
Oh, right, I found it. Yeah. What did you say?
Can you say that if the third letter is having a dhamma, and after it we have a vav sakin, then we make kasra on Hamza al-Wasl?
If it's an original dhamma on the third letter?
If we have a dhamma on the third letter, and after it we have a vav sakin.
I'm not sure about that conclusion. It needs some investigating. It could be. I don't know. But let me tell you, and I will send you this document. This document is it's 90% in Arabic, but it has the example, the examples from the Quran. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ and I'm sure in Qalun فَمَنُ اضْطُرَّ with the dhamma. So the word اضْطُرَّ, the ta has a dhamma. I said the original kasra is not in Hafs.
Yeah, different crowd.
So I was trying to give an example with the dhamma. If you want examples from that, we can try to find them next time for non-Hafs qira'ah. But for the dhamma, an original dhamma, utturra is one of them. Utturra is a good example. And ud'u. Ud'u ila sabili rabbik. Ud'u is also a very simple word. So we have like this. Third letter is obviously original dhamma, ud'u, and the other one was utturra. And they don't give like too many examples here. Of course, it doesn't differentiate between fi'l al-amr, which is the case here, ud'u, or fi'l mudari. So it only depends on the dhamma, whether the fi'l is amr or not. It doesn't matter. All right. So that's for the original dhamma.
So original dhamma and fatha and kasra, same root.
Second, the original dhamma.
Fatha or kasra, same root. So the hamza al-wasl follows the same harf.
No, to get
Otherwise, if it's non-original dhamma, then there is a distinction.
If it's a non-original dhamma, we said it's the hamza al-wasl will have a kasra.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, what I meant, if it's original dhamma, fatha or kasra, then same root, basically.
Why? This one is original dhamma, and hamza al-wasl has a dhamma here. Yeah.
You follow. So
Oh, you mean
the hamza al-wasl follow the same harf.
you mean hamza al-wasl will have a dhamma?
Yeah. The fatha has a fatha.
No, a fatha will have a kasra.
Yeah. That's well.
Yeah.
Kasra, okay.
Yeah. Here, what I said here, I like what I meant here in this theory here, is that we are not talking about a fatha will have a fatha, kasra will have a kasra, dhamma will have a kasra. I said if it's a line, we have a line. Right? It's more visual.
Yeah, but the line is always outward.
Yeah, because this is a line and this is a line. Fatha is a line, kasra is a line, and this is a line. But this is a kasra. Here, this one is fatha or dhamma. And this is a dhamma, this is a dhamma. All right? Okay. Let's read ayah number 4, Surah Al-Ahqaf. Let's start with Yahya. Keep you busy.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. Did you read it at home? You read it at home? Okay. Did you listen to it? Did you memorize it?
No.
All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Bassam.
قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Abu Yahya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Sajjad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قل أرأيتم ما توعدون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات.
Repeat from Aruni. Aruni.
من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Mustafa.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Slim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Is that how they read it in Qalun?
Yeah.
That's how they read it in Qalun?
Yeah.
You verified it? You verified it? You heard it? You listened to it? Who did you listen to? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Hanif.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hanif. Brother Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين.
Jazakallah khair. So this word Ituni, how does it fit with what we said about Hamzat al-Wasl today? Yes, Brother Hanif. Brother Hanif. Non-original. How was it supposed to be originally?
It should be like Hamza, Ta, then we have Ya, and then Waw.
Like ETU.
Without the
Yeah, because it's mentioned as one of the 5 words which mentioned earlier. Iqdu, Ibnu, Imdu, Imshu, and Itu, this one. So even though it had the third letter has a dhamma, because the dhamma, of course, as soon as we see a dhamma, we think that Hamzat al-Wasl will have a dhamma, unless it's a non-original dhamma.
I think here is going to sound weird. Utuni?
Utuni? Not necessarily.
The word before it is kasra and then dhamma.
Samawati. No, he meant if we put a dhamma on Hamzat al-Wasl.
Yeah, what I meant is the letter before it is samawati. So if you put dhamma samawati utuni,
That's even
very
really harder. But if you start from it and you put a dhamma,
It will be fine, or it will sound fine.
you think it sounds fun? Utuni? Or me reading a different qira'ah?
I don't know about different qira'at in this particular word, but it doesn't necessarily sound weird. Not necessarily. Or at least it doesn't sound very weird. It doesn't sound very weird.
So whether you stop before it or you start it, it's kasra.
If you start from it, it's a kasra, but if you don't start from it, you don't read it. If you don't start from it, you don't read Hamzat al-Wasl.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, you don't read Hamzat al-Wasl.
But the other Hamza.
Oh, you read the other Hamza like Brother Hanif just did. I was going to ask you actually, how do we do when we connect it? Because here you notice that we are not reading a Hamza when we start from it, but we read the Hamza when you continue. Yeah. Yes, Brother.
Why do we not read the Hamza when we start?
Why do we not read the Hamza? I'm not sure about the why of this particular word. We can find out, inshallah.
So it's not any rule that we covered or anything?
It's not something that we covered. It's probably to do with the Arabic language. I believe there are some other words that are kind of similar in a way that we simplify the pronunciation of the word. The only thing that comes to my mind now is the word in Surat in Surah Al-An'am, الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين. I think we may have spoken about this one. We talked about al-madd al-lazim, maybe?
Similar word. It's al-ana.
Al-ana. I don't know about al-ana for what I was going to say now, but obviously this is in some qira'at and in some narrations, it is read with a full mad here. We say الذكرين حرم, but with other narrations they make takhfif of this, so they would say الذكرين. And because it is called takhfif, that means it is making it easier to say it. And sometimes when I'm reciting this, when I'm praying, I will just make it shorter. I would read with the version that is short, right? Instead of making the full mad. الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين. And when I was reciting this to one of the mashayikh, he asked me to read it both ways so that at least you know how to do it, right? Even if you are reading in a specific riwayah, at least you practice the other one so that you know how to do it.
So in the same riwayah, you can read it both ways?
Well, in the same riwayah, in the same in hafs. So it is within the same riwayah. You have both options, depending on the wajh or the narration that you are going with. Right. This is an example of takhfif that came to my mind. I don't have any other examples now. I was trying to answer your question about why do we make it like this. It is easier to pronounce, right? To make it easier.
We cannot start a word with a sukoon, so that's why we have the comfortables before it.
For you're talking about ituni?
I think he's just asking about comfortables. Why we have
No, the hamza after he was talking about. Yeah, the hamza after, because if we start from the word, we don't pronounce that hamza, that second hamza, and if we start before it, then we pronounce it like you did. So the question was, why do we omit that second hamza? So I'm pretty sure it is to do with takhfif, but I don't have the details. Inshallah, we can find out, inshallah. All right. Shall we stop here? If you don't have any questions or comment? Questions or comment? All right. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.